Good afternoon, board members. My name is Terri Marcus. I am the president of the PTA Council of Howard County. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all this afternoon. I gave a rather all-encompassing brief back in October, so today I will just focus on what we at the council have been doing over the past 6 months. Since PTA's mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children, I will start with our first main objective, advocacy. In January, we took positions on state bills proposed by our Howard County delegation. These included 1, supporting the dedication of commercial excise tax monies to pay for deferred school maintenance projects. 2, supporting a private-public partnership work group and requesting PTAC representation in the work group. 3, supporting legislation that provides for clear, consistent evaluation of school capital needs and funding availability with PTAC representation in the process. 4, supporting public campaign financing for Board of Education candidates. 5, supporting a Board of Education compensation commission. 6, supporting ranked choice voting for Board of Ed elections. 7, supporting a task force to study potential reallocation of transfer tax revenue. And 8, opposing the bill adjusting Board of Education term lengths, instead passing a motion that PTAC does not support Board of Ed term adjustments that result in a term longer than 4 years. Testimony stating these positions was subsequently provided. Of all these bills, 3 of them sort of combined into House Bill 1450/Senate Bill 1186, which creates a Howard County task force to study revenue options for school capital needs. As you probably know, the bill creates a task force of 23 members, including 2 members from the Board of Education and 1 member from PTAC. That bill has passed both chambers and has apparently gone to the governor. We are also pleased to see that House Bill 1440, which requires the Board of Ed to publish a report that details the differences and the rationales for any differences between the superintendent's proposed capital budget and the capital budget approved by the Board of Education, has likewise passed both chambers of the General Assembly. Neither of these bills was signed by the governor this past Tuesday, but we will be following these items until May 28th, which is the last day the governor has to take action. There are a few other state bills that grabbed our attention. Senator Hester's office sought our support for Senate Bill 739, which establishes an algorithmic addiction fund for any monies obtained by the state in its lawsuit against Meta, which we voted to support. We also voted to support House Bill 74, the Lifesaver Schools program. The most unsettling news coming from the legislative session is the real possibility that our adequate public facilities ordinances will be chipped away by House Bill 538, the Housing Expansion and Affordability Act of 2024, should it become law. Our membership does not oppose affordable housing in general. We simply think that every child in this county deserves a seat in a school building and the chance to obtain a quality education. Therefore, we oppose state mandates eroding our local APFO laws and any other laws, zoning changes, and other means government and private entities use to intentionally overcrowd our schools. Our current APFO laws already exclude affordable housing projects from their requirements. If enacted, the new law would permit increased density in residential areas, thereby increasing the number of students attending nearby and possibly not so nearby schools. Overcrowded schools harm our students and staff and place heightened burdens on our buildings, which are rapidly aging and in desperate need of repairs. In the past, overcrowding has led to multiple rounds of redistricting and contentious community disputes over where to build new schools. We would like to avoid those events in the future, so we will be tracking any changes to APFO at the state and county level. By law, an APFO review committee is required to be formed within 1 year after the adoption of the general plan. In October, we sent a letter to the county executive asking to be included in that committee. To date, we have received no response to our request, despite knowledge that a committee is in fact being formed. Additionally, we have a member working on the Policy 5200 Review Committee regarding student transportation, which is on your agenda for later this evening. In regards to that, in November, our membership voted unanimously to oppose, quote, any significant policy changes that take away critical services to students and families without a prior public hearing. We also work with our leadership team at Free State PTA. Free State has its own advocacy committee. It hosted an advocacy day and evening in Annapolis that we attended in February. I attend monthly meetings with the other 6 PTA council presidents in Maryland. When we meet with our state cohorts, we are looking to find things that we can advocate for on a statewide basis, such as more money for new capital projects. This summer, our members will be attending the Free State PTA Convention, where we will hear from our national PTA leaders and the Maryland State Department of Education. With all this talk about advocacy, you may have wondered why PTAC hasn't testified about the budget. The answer simply is that we have to represent all our members, and our members do not all agree on what should or should not be cut from the budget. Elementary, middle, and high schools all have different priorities. What we all do agree on is that our members, parents, and the school system should not be willing to accept smaller and smaller opportunities for our students. Instead of asking what can the school system cut, the county government should be examining how we can sustain our traditionally high standards while meeting the blueprint's requirements. Our local and state government should identify what entities it exempts from paying their fair share and examine how our laws, policies, and regulations take revenue away from our school system. It is our job to shine a light on the needs of our students and staff members and to keep those needs at the forefront of budget decisions made at all levels of government. PTAC's second major function is to support our PTAs in the schools. We do this by providing leadership trainings and by hosting guest speakers to share their knowledge at our monthly membership meetings. At our October meeting, we heard from members of our state delegation, including Senators Lamb and Hester, and delegates Atterbury, Feldmark, Hill, and Terrassa, about upcoming proposed legislation and their legislative priorities. In December, we heard from Mr. Siddiqui to learn about the school system budget and how the process has changed this year. In January, Tim Guy gave our members an update on implementation of the blueprint. In March, we heard from council members Liz Walsh and Deb Young about the role of the county council in the budget process. In May, we are planning to hear from Mr. Lubley, if he's available, about the capital budget and the IAC process. In addition to our guest speakers, your own Mr. Chen and Mr. Lamont from the superintendent's cabinet are regular attendees. Representatives from the Community Advisory Council, CARI, the HCEA, and CCAC are also welcome to present every month. Other things we have done that you may find interesting include, back in August, we heard from the Howard County Office of Veterans and Military Families about how schools could become Purple Star schools. In February, it was announced that Bellow Springs Elementary School was one of the first 8 schools in the state of Maryland and the only one in Howard County to receive this designation. So congratulations to Bellow Springs and their PTA for making that happen. I do hear that several more schools in Howard County will be earning that designation next year, so that's good news. In February, our board created a new standing committee to study and increase the amount of diversity and inclusion in our PTAs. Shortly thereafter, Free State PTA also created its own DEI committee at the state level. As a few of you know, we also hosted a Board of Education candidate forum on March 16th, for which we received favorable feedback, and which has received 312 views on YouTube as of 10 a.m. this morning. In November and again in March, it was my pleasure to speak on behalf of PTAC at the Multilingual Parent Leadership Program graduations. I would like to thank Min Woo for giving me the opportunity to talk to parents who are new to the school system about how PTAs work, what our goals are, and the benefits of becoming involved. More recently, we sat with the consulting firm in charge of helping to find the new superintendent, and we gave our feedback to help with that process. Throughout the year, our safety committee has been working with HCPS's Safety and Security Department to help incorporate elements of their safety report into training materials and guidance for parents and students. Our policy committee advertises and encourages our members to participate in the policy review committees that come up every year and keep us up to date on those. Our after prom committee has also been working throughout the year and has recently requested that a letter be sent from the superintendent encouraging high school students to attend their after proms instead of attending parties where alcohol or drugs could be present, or leaving prom to engage in other possibly problematic activities. We also have a Reflections committee. Reflections is a huge annual arts program put on by National PTA. Students have a chance to enter school-wide, county-wide, statewide, and finally nationwide competitions in the categories of music composition, visual arts, film production, dance choreography, photography, and literature. We are recognizing our county winners at a ceremony this coming Saturday at the Central Branch Library. PTAC also collects donations from the individual school PTAs every year so that our scholarship committee can award a small number of scholarships to high school seniors every year. Finally, we also try to support staff members at ARL and Homewood by making financial contributions to help them out with their Teacher Appreciation Week or with whatever goals they may have since they do not have their own PTAs. Lastly, I have a proposal based on some feedback I have received and my own experience with different schools over the past 11 years. Many new principals and teachers are maybe not so familiar with PTAs and what our role is in the schools. Even when administrators are not new, but they just changed schools, PTAs can look very different from school to school. So I'm offering to provide a crash course in how to work with your school PTA. This could take the form of simple written materials that get distributed or a short in-service with relevant staff members sometime during the week before school starts, whatever would be most helpful or desired. I'm envisioning helpful practical advice on things like, here are things PTAs can pay for and things we cannot pay for, and when is the optimal time to ask for money and when is really a bad time. When no one really knows what the rules are, it can make relations between administrators and parents feel strained, and we really don't want that. We want everyone to be able to work together with no hard feelings on either side. So if you think that's something that may be beneficial, we can certainly talk about that on a separate occasion. Otherwise, that completes my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
We have a couple hands up, so again, no more than 5 minutes, please. And go ahead, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dr. Chen.
Yeah, just try to do a quick remark. So, every time I attending the PTAC meeting, just I'm amazed how much work done, how much information flow. So really appreciate the strong PTAC leadership. So convey my thanks to the whole team. And you can see from the report how comprehensive the PTAC supported whole school system. All of the information, everything there. And it's really building a village to reach our students. So I really appreciate the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McCoy?
Yes, thank you for your testimony, and I am really grateful for the offer to have a sort of a tutorial for our administrators, because you're right, depending on the school you're in, every PTA, PTAs are different from school to school, and I think having a refresher course at the beginning of the school year to just understand just what is effective and what is not effective, and dates and times for doing things would be very, very helpful. So thank you for that suggestion, and I hope we take you up on it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We have offered trainings on our side to offer parents how to work with your school's administration. So having a chance to talk to administrators would just kind of even that process out, so everybody would be on the same page.
Dr. Liu?
Well, thank you for the report. Thank you for serving on PTAC. I really appreciate your suggestion of offering trainings to the administrators about the PTA and also the differences across schools. At the same time, because Howard County is such a diverse community, and we have so many immigrant families, And not all of them have experience with PTA because in some cultures or countries, they don't really have PTA. So I think very helpful that you could also reach out to more communities, so invite them to join PTA, because many parents and families, they're not aware of the existence of PTA. I think they'll be willing to help and join, just there is a lack of information to many of them. And also many times there is cultural differences, language barriers. So I think for PTAC, you have many members, so it will be very, very helpful. You can reach out to more communities.
I completely agree with that. And after attending the graduations of the multilingual program, I did hear some stereotypes people still have about PTAs. And I think sometimes people coming from other countries, only see PTAs in movies and that are made for comedic effect and do not reflect the reality of what we do at PTAs. So I would welcome the opportunity to speak with whatever groups I could. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. As a former PTA president, I know that when my administration changed, so did my PTA, and so did the involvement and the engagement. So, and I definitely saw our head of school management and instructional leadership taking notes that you've made the offer to have it available to existing and incoming principals and assistant principals. So thank you for that offer. And then, Mr. Barnes, I believe you had a comment.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for your leadership and leading a really important team of school advocates and school support members. I just want to also, as I made my way, talked about visiting schools, I want to make myself available to your team should you want me to visit or be part of an agenda. That would be great.
Okay, thank you. We do traditionally have the superintendent speak at our first meeting of the new school year, so I guess we'll see who that will be. But I appreciate your offer, and the board and I will discuss it, and we can be in contact with you. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the transportation report.